Hello, friends. Welcome back to that discount rack at your local toy store. I'm your host, Jerry the Toy Repairman from Toy Story 2, and today I'm going to be improving this Thor figure. That's right, friends. After a brief hiatus from YouTube, I'm back by popular demand with another video. You might be wondering, well, Josh, what have you been doing with your time? Well, friends, I've been filling my schedule with working, sleeping, spending more time at my job, more sleeping, climbing around in filthy, hot, dark areas, trying to squeeze in some quality time with my family, working, playing with friends in a bullet-riddled, alien apocalyptic hellscape. But you know, once that creative bug starts to itch, the only topical ointment is to slap together a bunch of stuff out of wood, or paint some cheap plastic crap to make it look better. So, here I am. Let's get started on Thor. As you probably already know, I'm always in the market for some discounted toys that I can customize and repaint. So I was pretty happy when I stumbled across this Thor figure on sale for $12. It's definitely not the best price that I've gotten on a discount figure so far, but hey, at least I get that really cool sound effect backpack that I'm never going to use again. Anywho, I'm going to be using this air dry modeling clay to modify the figure. This figure is of course based on the look that Thor has early on in the Avengers Infinity War film. However, I thought it would be a fun and interesting challenge to change things up and give him the look he has later in the film. Why would I do that, you may ask? Well, let me counter that with, why not? I'd been wanting to use some modeling clay for a long time now, and I thought this would be a good excuse to do so. And after using it, I have to say I'm very happy with how nice this stuff is to work with. The little Stormbreaker weapon that came with the figure has a lot of really nice detail to it, but I wanted to brighten it up a bit with some metallic silver paint. Nothing too fancy here, I just carefully brushed it on to all the metal areas. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that this video doesn't appear in the order that it was filmed. For instance, the clay is not on Thor's arms in this shot. The main reason I changed things up a bit is because I wanted the video to have a better flow. And sometimes when I had to wait for things to dry, I would go ahead and work on the next part. Now that the clay was dry on the arms, I masked off all of the skin tone areas and spray painted the entire figure a flat black, before using an assortment of brown paints to add some details to the leather belt and the chest armor and the boots. Also, yes, I do realize that my head keeps randomly blocking the view, and I apologize. Now, a lot of this brown detail doesn't show up too well from the angle I'm showing, but I will show a close-up of it later on, because it really adds a lot of texture and depth to the figure. For his chainmail sleeves, I used a combination of black shoe polish and silver pigment powder. This mixture worked out a lot better than I thought it would, and it really helped to attain that dark gunmetal look that I was going for. I applied some of that excess mixture to Stormbreaker as well, just to get into all of those little crevices and recessed areas. Next up, I very carefully applied glue and pressed the cape into place. I didn't really mention it before, but this cape is actually made from material that I had bought about 15 years ago for a pirate costume. There's nothing really too special about it, it's just a thin, fleece-like, kind of microfibery kind of cloth. But it served my purpose perfectly. What I'm doing here is applying more of that clay to act as a collar/shoulder pad accessory. You'll probably also notice that I don't really have the correct tools that are required for working with modeling clay, but I'm using what I've got. And now that I know I'm going to be working more with this stuff in the future, I'm going to have to invest in a little set of tools. And more about this modeling clay. I'm really excited about how well this stuff worked because it's going to open up a lot of possibilities for me for future projects. Once it fully dries, it hardens to a solid, sandable consistency. But it's nice because it still remains slightly pliable and doesn't crumble easily, which makes it extra easy to work with. So, once it was dried, I used some 400 grit sandpaper to sand it as smooth as I could. After it was fully sanded, there were several areas that needed to be touched up. At first, I was concerned that when I applied some more of the soft clay, it wouldn't exactly adhere to the hardened stuff. However, it ended up working out really well. While this layer of clay was still soft and pliable, I used my assortment of makeshift modeling clay tools to add some details back into the collar and shoulder pads. Right about now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey Josh, you covered up his back. How are you going to use that super deluxe sound effect backpack that the figure came with? Well, guess what, friends? I'm not going to, because that thing's stupid, and they shouldn't even really put it in with the figure, because, I mean, kids should be able to make their own sound effects anyway. Why do you need a big, dumb-looking backpack to go onto the back of the figure? I don't know. It just, to me, it's like, what's the point of paying the extra money for that little accessory? I mean, I guess I appreciate the effort, but I don't know, just maybe spend that extra energy putting some better details into your cheaper figures? Just a friendly suggestion. Anywho, what I'm doing now is adding some gray dry brushing to different areas on the figure. Unfortunately, my gray paint was all dried out for some reason, so I just mixed up my own using some black and white paints. Like I said before, I'm just gently dry brushing in a couple areas to add a little bit of wear to his clothing and armor. And while I was at it, I went ahead and used some of those browns again to add a little bit more dirt and mud to the boots. Next up, I used the flat black to paint the collar and shoulder pad area. Little factoid here, I didn't let the clay on the shoulders dry quite as long as I should have. So the flat black didn't end up really with a flat finish, it was more of like a semi-gloss, I'd say. But no big deal. I'll just know better for next time. I then went ahead and added a thin coat of shoe polish all over the figure, just to add a little bit more weathering. Upon my initial inspections of these source photos, I thought that his cape was red underneath, and apparently I was wrong because it's black. So I tried to use some black pastel chalks to recolor the inside of the cape. It didn't really work super well. So I ended up spraying a very thin coat of black spray paint to the underside of the cape, which unfortunately I forgot to film. Sorry. Here I'm applying that assortment of brown paints to all of the hair areas on Thor's head. Now I know what you're thinking. Thor traditionally has blonde hair. However, in everything post-Thor Ragnarok, when his hair is short, it's more of a brownish shade, so I tried to reflect that. Ah yes, now I get to paint the eyes. While I could have stuck with the bang-up job that the manufacturer did, I thought maybe I could improve them a bit. Kinda like how I did with the Thanos figure before. So I cut off a single paintbrush bristle and went to work adding all of those little ocular details. One of those details being two different colored eyes. One being his natural blue, and two being a greenish colored one that he got from a sweet little rabbit, who seemed to indicate that he had to smuggle it in the old prison wallet. Anywho, I guess that repainting the eyes went okay for the most part, although I did have some problems because the blue paint that I used was for some odd reason all thick and Play-Doh-like, so it didn't dry completely and I accidentally touched it and messed up the paint job. Well, this is kind of a misnomer. I'm not actually making skin, I'm not Cyberdyne Systems or anything. But I am making a skin tone. And to do that, I'm combining a mixture of 4 different colors of paint. I had to be careful while doing this because I was tempted to make it look like my natural skin tone, which is frighteningly pale, while Thor has a more nicely tanned, darker tone. Initially, I wasn't even going to repaint all the skin, but I changed my mind because the head had quite a few little blemishes in the paint job, and the hands and the neck weren't even the same tone. So I repainted them all to make them consistent. What I did next here was to use my wood carving chisel to cut little lines into his hair to resemble those that he got in his crude haircut from Stan Lee back in Thor Ragnarok. Now back to the eyes. You know, they say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. Well, the eyes of this Thor figure are the windows to hell. Holy crap, I was so ready to be done painting these eyes. And you know, I got them to a point that I was really happy with, but then I decided to go ahead and add some weathering to his skin to make it look just a little bit dirty and darker. And then this happened. It stained the paint and made it look like crap. So then I had to scrub off all of that shoe polish, which made me have to repaint all of the skin and apply paint back to all of the hair areas as well. While I was at it, I went ahead and used a wood carving chisel to add a little scar to his cheek and above his eye. I touched up the eyes once again, and while I definitely wasn't perfect, I can live with that. Now let's pop Thor's head back onto his body and take a look at the final reveal. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty happy with how this figure turned out. If I had to do it over again, there are definitely things that I would do differently. But overall, I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with the results. I'm very pleased with how well that modeling clay worked out for me. I'm happy with how the cape looks as well, although I would change up a few things if I were to redo it. The eyes are most assuredly not perfect, but it's the best result that I could come up with. And love it or hate it, I'd say that this figure is certainly a big change from the starting look. Overall, I have to say that I'm very pleased with how this guy turned out. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a vast improvement on the overall quality of the original figure. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to consider leaving a like and subscribing below, and sharing it with someone. And be sure to check out some of my other stuff. I have a bunch of other videos, some of which are going to pop up right here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully the next time you see me, it'll be a lot sooner than this past time. But, either way, see you then. What did you do?
I went for the head.